With salary, of course, for me it was a very good number. It was more than 4.5x. So it was a great jump.
How important does it become for the brand name of that particular B school?
The methodologies, what we did in the forces was more of operational and tactical. Right, you are designated, the orders directly come from the ministry and you have to act upon them. So it's more tactical, it's more operational. Whereas here it's more about business, it's more about strategy.
I personally don't understand that when you join these term consulting and sales. What exactly is that? So today we have a round table, as you can see in front of us. I am sitting right now at this very innovative and colorful space. I am at SPJIMR right now, and with me are alumni members of the PGPM program that SPJIMR offers. And I welcome all of you, and I'm going to ask all of you about you and what you have done so far in life. Today, what we are trying to do and break down is the careers immediately after you're done with this program, careers that you were part of before this program, and careers that have happened to you after you were done with this. So, a very warm welcome to InsideIIM, and I am looking forward to having a great conversation with you guys, and I hope that you guys are stoked too.
Definitely, likewise.
Same.
Thank you.
Right. Okay. So I am going to start with the youngest member of the lot. Ishan, you are the batch that just ended. You were part of that, right? And you probably can give us a fresh insight as to what it was for you when you were making that choice of, doing an MBA, looking for programs that can give you that leverage. And were you bored as an engineer in general?
Well, you hit the pain point that I had, so to say, because when I was looking for the MBA, the one key thing that I found was helping me to take that plunge, if I may say, was I was getting kind of fixated in that domain. I was getting a stamp and I was seeing a stagnation in my role. And although I was able to get into 4 roles across my tenure, but I could see that I was being stamped and the kind of career trajectory I was looking for wasn't this.
And I'm coming next to you because you have a very fascinating sort of a background. You worked with the Indian Navy, if I'm not wrong. Tell us a little bit about that role that you had back then, and what was the outlook to life that you had back then when you were actually going on those ships and working for the country? What was that feeling like overall?
Life in the Navy was very different in terms of what I lead today. There was, if I'd have to talk in terms of stress, then the forces give you a very balance of physical and mental stress. Whereas here it's more about business, it's more about strategy, cost, profit, etc., etc.
Right. Neelam, were you just in general growing up interested towards making money, growing money, business, stuff like that?
So I think money is a very lucrative topic and, everybody gets attracted. But of course, we come from a business family and we are taught that, one should always try and strive for money and then also make the money work for you.
Yeah.
Right? It's one way to kind of earn money, but also to make sure that the money works for you in the reverse order, especially after a certain point in time. And that's why finance kind of interested me because that's where you kind of also redirect yourself that are you taking the right financial decisions? Are you actually churning your money in a way that kind of gives you that benefit for the longer term? It's more on the theory side, right? And then to put that theory into the real life to see the lucrativeness of changing that into everyday business kind of made a lot of sense.
Dheeraj has been waiting for quite some time as well. Dheeraj, as I mentioned earlier as well, you were the super senior and you probably have done this program way ahead right? And we were talking about it, that how things have changed around here, a lot of things have been added here. Purely from the perspective of you at that point in time when you made that decision that you wanted to do an MBA to just upskill yourself, which a lot of professionals find even today relevant, because they kind of feel that they're stuck in their jobs, they want to kind of upskill themselves, they want to get some hold of the things that they probably are not aware of. What was that time for you, during that time when you made that decision you wanted to join this particular program, and how much that has shifted in these 10-12 years that you have not seen so far in the academic space?
So the super senior tag basically makes me feel little old, but keeping that aside, I think the decision at that point in time, while I'm just going back and trying to think what actually I was thinking at that time. But what has happened is that after my engineering, when I took over the first job, practically most of us after engineering, we don't decide, we don't have choices, right? We just have options and then we decide on what is available on that at that point in time. That journey, but what happened was when I took up the job and started that journey, during the course of the journey, with the experience that I got, I could sort of understand the ecosystem industry better. That is where I felt like, okay, over a period of time, the good thing, I took almost 6 years in that company, but in different roles. Every 2 years, I was sort of moving into different role. Now, after a point in time, then I realized that there is a need for me to upskill in a formal way. And because practically I had already moved into the management role kind of function. But yes, that formal degree, so to speak, but this program actually gave a slightly more holistic perspective and then brought the whole thought process in much more streamlined way, which of course helped the career going ahead.
So help me understand, you did something called consulting sales, right? I personally don't understand that when you join these term consulting and sales, what exactly is that?
So while I was part of the services industry, technology services industry, you have a flavor or a high level outside understanding of what it is. You have heard of those big names, which is what those guys pick from top colleges like SPJIMR. So that was the learning. So that is known part, but when you come here and try to actually understand it, and that is where one of the courses we had was on consulting. So when I moved out of college, I actually went into the front-end sales, the product sales. I went to SAP, joined them for product sales. Initial 3 years of my journey with SAP was on the product sales, looking after a particular territory and a segment and an industry. But later on, what I realized with the knowledge that I had got during the college and the experience with the product, I realized the pros and cons of both. Okay, pros and cons of, I'll say, the product sales. I had done services sales earlier. So services sales, product sales, this learning actually sort of gave me that understanding that there is much larger opportunity that we can demystify when we do the consulting sales, right? That is where I moved into the services sales of SAP. It had a consulting arm from SAP. While I was at SAP, I was looking at across the portfolio, creating a business transformation strategy for a particular industry and few customers that I was managing. So that consulting sales actually brought the whole perspective with my product experience. It actually gave me a complete narrative which I was able to communicate to my customers.
I think this is helpful for people to understand the difference between the different sales roles that you have taken up. Talking about opportunities, the Bain opportunity did open for you. Tell me a little bit about how did that happen for you? What kind of process did you go through this? And were you sure that you wanted to, be in a consulting firm and work for them after you're done with this particular program?
The straightforward answer was yes, because in the present corporate world, I do not think that there's a nature of a job other than consulting which provides you that big amount of exposure and learning. Every day there's a new client, there's a new case, there might be 2-3 new cases in the pipeline. So it is just a very highly dynamic industry which is evolving on a very daily, I would even say it evolves on an hourly basis. And for me to bridge this gap, now I had the knowledge from my SPJIMR PGPM program, But now the next thing was to build that expertise. So rather than going in something which was very niche, let's say warehousing operations or supply chain operations, consulting opened a wider range of options for me just to learn. Last 2 years on this job uh, has been just a big learning curve. Even subconsciously I'm learning on an everyday basis, and that's why at this juncture I'm very glad that I took that chance, because though it came with its fair share of challenges, but at this juncture I realized that within 2 years it has given me an experience of maybe 5, 6, or maybe even 7 years of this corporate world. So all in all, worked out well.
Superb. One consultant to the other. You were selected at Accenture. Were you placed before him?
I was the first one to get
yeah.
placed in the batch. We had this new toolkit given to us, right? And then there's an open playground. And Accenture was that playground for me to now use that tools. And it was like a Swiss knife, every element of it was as important as anything else.
Yeah.
Fortunately, Accenture does give you a list of great clients, like all the big clients. Plus, I think with the learnings that we gained from the program, we had this right sort of understanding of transitioning the client demands into the deliverables, right? And I think the interview process was nothing but, as Dheeraj rightly said, the consulting cases, they play an absolute important role in interview preparations. I went through dozens and dozens of these cases before I went for my interview. And I think that was my confidence of even cracking that first set of interview and first set of people who got placed, right?
Right.
It was very, very important.
Neelam, I told you that I will be back with the money question.
Mm-hmm.
So I am back with the money question. What was the kind of jump that you were expecting? Now that you have gotten probably one of the biggest companies that come on campus to hire for this particular program, both in terms of the learning that you have and the kind of salary jump that you have, what was that scenario like for you with Accenture?
So learning, of course, right? Because with consulting, as they rightly said, it's every day a new set of clients, a new set of learning that they bring from their own experience, and now how do you transition them to their target state? With salary, of course, for me it was a very good number. It was 4.5x, so it was a great jump. It was like a swell in my money account. But additionally, I think even with money, I always say let the money work for you, right? The MBA or the program also teaches you, especially in finance, what the subjects we learn, right? It also teaches you on how to make that money work for you.
Yeah.
And that's very important in today's world. I keep saying, make your wise investments and make that, let finance be one of the core in your entire consulting journey as well.
Right.
So yeah.
How important does it become for the brand name of that particular B school? So for example, now a lot of B schools across India, they offer 1-year programs, and a lot of executives, they do it, right? How do you know that it's the right one for you?
I'll tell you a personal experience. In the last month itself, I can't name the person, but I was working with someone from a consulting background, and he was an alum of our institute itself. The kind of recognition that was given, and there was no need for any ice-breaking thing, number one. Number two, the validation that you get from a reputed institute like SPJIMR. People know the professors that have worked in the industry and are teaching here very well. Secondly, as well as a personal front as well, when I was convincing my parents that I am going to leave my stable job in the field that I was working in, the SPJIMR tag itself was convincing enough for them. When I told them that I have the admit for SPJIMR, they didn't say a word. So for me personally, that was very easy. So that does play a role. And even during our international immersion phase as well, they knew what SPJIMR is doing. They knew they are working for building students and a network who are socially conscious as well as doing something new always. So yeah.
Super. We have come to the end of this particular podcast. I want to end this session with, what would be your advice who feels stuck at the moment, who is doing a job for quite some time and not sure where to build forward from here. I'll start with you.
If you can achieve that clarity on what is that you want to sort of go for, if you feel, because that experience band is still very early days, right? And you have such a long career in front of you. So experimentation is not a challenge. You should go for experimentation. Now, whether that experimentation should only be through a management course is something I may not, I would say you need to sort of think about. Because what is that you want to do after an MBA? Possibly you want to take some guidance from people who have, from seniors who have passed out. They give you a perspective of what is that you can look up to. If you are just clear about that you want to make money, then you will have to think of options that will give you that. And there are a lot of options. MBA may not be the just option, because you may get into a theoretical thing where you may not enjoy, you may not sort of like the whole thing, the whole experience, and tomorrow you'll say, "Mere ko mila kya?" Right?
I feel there are three things here. One is what you actually like. Secondly, are you really good at it? And thirdly, whether the industry demands it. So this is kind of a perfect platform to test all of this. Get a reality check as well. Many a times we feel that we are good at something, and then when you come here, you get a reality check. Whether if you are, it's kind of telling you whether it is good or not. And an institute like SPJIMR, it not just values but encourages your extracurriculars and co-curriculars as well.
When you are a sponge and you think that there is still the strength to soak that knowledge, be in that field. The time the sponge becomes the rock and there is a saturation to soak any more knowledge, or your capacity to even get that, be more mechanical, because when you come office, you have that 100% accuracy that, okay, today I'm doing 1, 2, 3 tasks. It's very defined. The day it's not very defined. The day you have more challenge, that is the call that, you should now switch.
Usually I have seen a lot of people that, okay, they think that this is a good approach, but they stick to it so much that they're rigid. The mindset becomes so rigid that they're not able to bring out the best of their innovative minds out. So focus on, incorporating a lot of views, thinking about the same problem in different ways, etc. And then these are the main 3 steps.
I think all of you guys have reached a stage where all of your answers are a little philosophical in nature, and I am going to draw close to this particular conversation. I know for a fact that it's a Saturday and we are in a late evening sitting here. I know you guys have plans. I hope that this particular video was helpful for you guys in trying and understanding the space, in trying understanding if you are put in a particular job, you are thinking of making a switch, what is the thought process or a framework, as we call it, you can use in doing that. Do tell us in the comments below how you liked this particular episode. Do tell us in the comments below as well if you have any further questions that you want answers for, and we probably will send these questions to these people for them to answer and get back to you. Do share this video with people who you think that they need that slight bit of nudge to cross that line and look for another career option that they well deserve in their lives. Thank you very much, guys, for being part of this particular episode and being patient throughout. And I hope you do wonders in your respective lives and kind of reach the goals that you have and the trek that you want to do.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.